Hi, I'm Neil from Bridgewater Sewing Centre, and it's just a small video on some major adjustments that you would have to do on a Juki LU 1508 NH. So this machine's got some timing issues. So what we're going to check first is the clutch. I've manually thrown it out to show you how you would snap this back into place. It's got a little finger here. A lot of these machines, when they throw out, that spring goes missing. Then his finger won't work anymore. And what that does is grab a hold of this when you push your button down on the bed of the machine, right to the right-hand side of the bobbin, and puts pressure here and drives this unit back into this groove, this piece back into the groove again. And if this is missing, or the spring is missing, then it won't do that unless gravity comes into play, of course. So then what you would do is take a wide-headed screwdriver, line this up with the groove, and snap it into place by turning the screw to the right, or the screwdriver to the right. In this case here, that's all there, so all I'm going to do is push the bed down, push the button down, which is going to grab a hold of this pulley here, put pressure on the shaft, so this will snap back into place. Find the button here. There we go. And then you keep turning until it grabs a hold of the... Now it's going to put pressure on it. And snaps it back into place. So now the clutch is back in. Okay, and that would only happen if you jam it up with thread. Instead of breaking something over in where your bobbin is and that sort of thing, it just snaps this out. Next, we're going to do the timing. I know the timing is off, the needle bar's height is off. So I've taken the feed dogs off, the needle plate and the pressure feed, so we can see what's going on. You always turn your hand wheel towards you. Bring the needle bar down to bottom dead center. And then we're going to judge. There's no timing mark on the needle bar. So I've just done it long enough that I know that I have to judge 1/8 of an inch. Okay, that would be roughly about right there. Doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to hold my finger there, turn the hand wheel towards me, bring the needle bar up till my finger touches the top of the bushing, or the bottom of the bushing here. At that point, this point of the hook should be sitting right in the middle of the scarf and the needle. So the hook has got to be turned. It's a little bit slow, I guess you would want to call it. And so it should be up to the needle at this point. And then, of course, then I would have to drop the needle bar so that it would be sitting right in the middle of the scarf here. So I've tipped the machine back, and to make that adjustment on the timing, you have the slide gear. You have the big gear and the small gear. Everything on this machine has 2 screws. The first screw that comes to view first is in a groove. So we stop and check first, make sure nobody has changed that. So I take that screw out. And as you can see, it's on a groove. So I know that's okay. Put that back in. Any other time that would fall right in place there. Oop. I'll tighten that up. And we'll check. This has 2 screws, and the first screw that comes to view first, and they're two together, is on a groove. So we're going to loosen this one. And continue turning around, and we know this is on a groove. We know the hook has to speed up about 1/8 of an inch to catch the needle. So it's going to turn this way. So this gear is going to go this way, just ever slightly, if I've got the room. You only got a little bit of play back and forth this way, left to right, to do your timing. if you don't have the distance to set your timing correct, then you've got to separate the gears and play with the cogs one at a time. I'm going to check and see. Okay, it's gone over just that much. Tighten it back up. Just that one for now. I'm going to check and see if the timing is on. So I'm going to turn the cam wheel. Maybe I'll bring the camera up here so you can see what we're doing. Bring the needle bar down at the bottom dead center. I'm going to put my fingernail here, the 1/8 of an inch. Bring the needle bar up. And as you can see, if the camera can see right down there, the point of the hook is right at the needle at that point. Now, if it was still delayed, then what I would have to do is back down here. If I couldn't get this gear over far enough to get the hook turned to catch up to the needle, then I would have to slide the gear back far enough that I would advance one cog, slide it back into place. Or if it was the other way around, it was too far and I couldn't bring the gear this way far enough, because you only want to come out so far. If you get out too close to the outside edge of that gear, you're going to get too much play. Usually you have a tolerance about, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, I guess, maybe one way or the other. But you can turn that hook back and forth, and if not, then you've got to separate the gears and get it close enough that you can time it from that point. But we're happy here. I'm happy it's over here as far as it's going to go. Now, as far as distance between the point of the hook and the needle at this point, if you want to look right down in here, you can see that I'm touching the needle and there is no play between the point of the hook, which is right there, and the needle. It's right there. If I had to adjust that, then I would loosen this screw and this screw, and you move your saddle left and right. And in this case here, of course, I've got the gear all the way over to the right to correct my timing. So if I had to move this way to get the needle a little bit tighter to the hook, loosen this, and then I'm going to have to loosen the gear as well, just slightly, so that everything comes together. Then tighten it up in the gear, and we should still be okay. Okay, so I've tightened everything up down in the bottom. You can notice that the point of the hook is sitting right at the needle, but the eye of the needle is above the point. I want that, the point right here, the hook, be sitting in the scarf. So that adjustment is made right on the screw. I'm going to loosen the screw and drop the needle bar. Drop it down a little bit at a time, snug it up. She's going right through the eye of the needle at the moment, so now we'll drop it a little bit more. A little bit more. And by the way, I've already checked to make sure it was the right needle in the machine. That's the first thing you would check. I'm going to go down just a little bit more. Snug. So now if I want to zoom right in here, and again, I'm turning the hand wheel towards me all the time. Bring the needle bar down the bottom dead center. Judge an 1/8 of an inch. Turn the hand wheel towards me. Bring the needle bar up to my fingernail touches. And you can see right here that now the point of the hook is right in the center of the scarf and the needle. And very little, no daylight there at all. You don't want the point of the hook hitting it. Sometimes once this point of the hook wears, the guard might be pushing the needle out away from the point. So you gotta check that as well. In this case, that's not an issue. If If it was, you would take your screwdriver, wider screwdriver than that. Go in here and just bend that guard slightly to the right to make sure it wasn't giving you any issues. So that's your timing. Okay, I've tightened everything up. I've put the plate back on. You always make sure that the bobbin case base is underneath the plate so it doesn't move when you turn your hand wheel. Okay, and I put the bobbin into place. There's a good heavy tension there, which is what you like. So now we'll thread up the machine, get through one hole, skip the couple, hit the fourth hole, and through there around this thread guide. With the 1508s, I got 2 tension assemblies. So we're going to go in around one, up around the other, click it into place through your take-up lever, through a couple of these guides here, and threads from left to right in your needle. Okay, we're all threaded up. I've noticed that this position finger is not working properly. As you can see, when the thread wraps around the hook assembly, it's not crossing over this far enough like that. Okay, and then of course you have to, it'll still sew okay, but it just creates more of a snapping noise. So what I want this position finger to do here is push back on the base just slightly. So we're going to loosen the screw and just push it back just slightly. And then as you see now, when the hook picks the thread off the needle, it pulls back on the base and allows the thread to get up over top of the bobbin case base with less drag. Then you're not going to get that snapping noise. Now when you sew, it's not going to snap quite as hard. You don't need quite as much tension on your top thread. Now the tensions look good. If I needed to increase, you increase both these a little bit at a time. If it pulls it too tight, if it's laying on the top, then you know you're too tight up here. It's just these two here, not this one. Notice a bit of a noise down in there. Keep this well oiled where the hook travels around the bobbin case base. Keep oil in there and it'll quiet it right down. Okay, I had to readjust. I noticed the thread was fraying a little bit. I had to readjust the needle bar. Just had to drop it up, pull it up just slightly, and it was skipping a stitch in reverse, but we solved that problem. So hopefully that little bit of information will help somebody out. Thanks.